Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There is a moment before the world fully awakens when silence still carries the weight of eternity. In that breath between darkness and light, something sacred stirs, a quiet reminder that we are not wandering aimlessly through the hours ahead. We are being guided. The dawn is not only the beginning of a new day, it is the whisper of a faithful shepherd calling his sheep by name. Psalm 23 has traveled farther than any sermon, survived more centuries than any empire, and comforted more souls than any philosophy. It is not a poem of the past, but a map for the present, a living truth that unfolds within you each time you say, Asterisk, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Asterisk, these words are not mere devotion. They are declaration. They claim a reality where fear does not reign, where provision is certain, and where the human heart walks in step with divine purpose. This is not a passive prayer. It is a path, carved by the invisible hand of love, meant to guide you through valleys of shadow into fields of unshaken peace. Today, as you breathe in the first air of morning, let your soul remember, you are not alone. You are being led, supplied, and strengthened for the day that unfolds before you. Every word of Psalm 23 breathes with life, because it was born not from comfort, but from trust forged in uncertainty. When David spoke of green pastures and still waters, he was not surrounded by ease. He was hunted, exhausted, and yet he believed. His faith was not a fragile hope, but an unshakable awareness of God's nearness in every condition. He makes me lie down in green pastures. This is not the image of luxury. It is the image of rest that the restless world cannot offer. It is the stillness that restores the heart when anxiety pulls it apart. God leads where peace already exists, waiting to be found. He restores my soul. Restoration does not come by escape, but by return. We return to the center we had forgotten, where divine presence waits quietly beneath the noise. The soul restored is not merely comforted, it is reawakened to its purpose. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. There is power in this phrase, for it speaks of alignment. It means being guided toward the path where your choices mirror his nature. It is not about perfection, but direction, about the courage to keep walking, even when clarity fades. Psalm 23 is more than a psalm. It is the pulse of divine rhythm beneath the chaos of human life. When you listen carefully, you will hear it beating within your own heart, reminding you that every breath you take today is already known by the one who walks beside you. There is a hidden presence that moves with us through every hour of the day. We do not see his face, yet his guidance shapes every turn, every delay, every mercy disguised as waiting. The shepherd is not distant. He walks within the rhythm of our choices, whispering through quiet conviction, steering us gently away from the edges we cannot yet see. In a world obsessed with control, we often mistake movement for progress. But the shepherd knows when to slow the pace, when to draw us into silence, when to teach us that trust is not weakness, but the highest form of strength. He does not shout commands. He invites through stillness. Sometimes his leading feels like loss, But in time we learn that every detour is a redirection toward peace. We call him invisible, yet his fingerprints are everywhere, on the breath that calms you after fear, in the timing that protected you from unseen harm, in the compassion that found you when you least deserved it. The invisible shepherd is not far from the noise of the city or the ache of the heart. He walks through both with the same patience, leading not from ahead but from within. To walk with him is to rediscover what modern life has forgotten. That true direction is not discovered by searching harder, but by trusting deeper. Every soul must walk through its own valley. No one escapes the terrain of fear, loss, or doubt. Yet the valley is not the place where faith dies. It is where faith becomes real. The shadows test what light has promised. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. The power of this line rests not in denial of darkness, but in the quiet defiance of despair. God never promised a life without pain. What he promised was presence within it. The shepherd does not remove the valley. He enters it. He does not erase fear. He walks beside you until fear forgets its purpose. There, in the dimness where answers fade, courage begins to grow, not as noise, but as calm assurance that the one who leads you will never abandon you. When you walk through the shadow, you learn that light is not the absence of darkness, but the certainty of guidance. The rod and the staff, symbols of correction and protection, become reminders that every trial is both shield and shaping hand. You begin to see that what once felt like punishment was, in truth, preparation. And as you emerge from the valley, the world no longer looks the same. The air tastes sharper, the light feels truer, and your heart beats slower, stronger, sure. Because now you know, the shepherd was never behind you, never ahead of you. He was always beside you, even when the shadows fell the heaviest. There comes a moment when the journey shifts from survival to gratitude. The shepherd does not lead you only through valleys. He invites you to sit. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. This is the turning point of the psalm, the moment when fear gives way to abundance. Imagine it, a table set not in safety, but in defiance of adversity. Grace does not wait for the storm to pass. It unfolds right in its center. Every trial that once threatened to undo you becomes a witness to your restoration. The table of God is not a feast of wealth, but of peace. Here, the meal is made of mercy, and the cup is filled with courage. To sit at this table is to understand that you are provided for even when the world withholds. The shepherd does not simply give what you ask for. He gives what you need to become whole. You drink from a cup that never empties because it is drawn from the river of divine generosity. In this sacred place, the noise of comparison, ambition, and fear begins to fade. What remains is a simple truth: God's goodness is not a reward for success. It is the atmosphere of love that surrounds those who trust. And as you eat, as you breathe, as you live, you realize the greatest miracle is not that you were spared from the battle, but that you were nourished in the midst of it. The psalm closes not with escape, but with endurance. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. These are not words of mere hope. They are a declaration of rhythm, goodness behind you, mercy beside you, eternity ahead. The shepherd's care does not end when the prayer does. It continues with every step that follows. To dwell in the house of the Lord is not to live confined within walls of stone, but to carry the awareness of his presence wherever you go. Every sunrise becomes a doorway, every breath a hymn, every act of kindness a continuation of the psalm. Life itself becomes the sanctuary. Goodness follows not because we deserve it, but because love refuses to leave us. Mercy accompanies not to erase our past, but to transform it into a testimony of grace. When you truly believe this, fear loosens its grip, and each morning feels like a homecoming. The shepherd has not only led you through the valleys and pastures, he has turned your entire journey into a prayer, one that does not end with amen, but continues through every heartbeat that still believes. You do not walk alone. You walk in the echo of divine promise, through the eternal presence of a love that neither sleeps nor fades. The morning now stands before you, unclaimed and radiant, a field of possibility waiting for your first step. You have heard the psalm, but now it must be lived. The shepherd who guided David through wilderness and war is the same who guides you through uncertainty and noise. His voice does not grow weaker with time. It speaks through conscience, circumstance, and quiet conviction, calling you by name. Each day begins as an act of faith. You rise not because you know what the hours will bring, but because you trust the one who holds them. You walk into the unknown with peace, because you have already met the presence that fills it. The valleys ahead will not define you. The shadows will not break you. And the fear that once ruled your mornings will fade beneath the steady light of divine companionship. This is your invitation to start again, not as a wanderer, but as one who is led. Carry this psalm as a compass, not as a relic. Let it speak when your words fail. Let it lead when your sight dims. And as you move through the day, may your heart remember, you are seen, sustained, and surrounded by love that never departs. Now the dawn belongs to you. Walk in it with courage and let Psalm 23 become the language of your life.